A very good morning. So, I've spoken about shadow aspects, and today we will understand another uh, spiritual definition related to shadow work, and that is integration. Now, integration can be understood at two levels. One, at a level of soul, which is like, uh, which is a higher concept, and it is based on multiple births that we have taken. And integration of soul, what does that mean? And the second one is integration at a level uh, of, say, only this birth, or maybe it could be understood as a psychological aspect, or a psychological, we will define it through the psychology basically. Though both of the two are similar in nature, but because we are more connected to, this, the psychology is more, could be understood at a very logically, we can understand it. Soul integration at higher levels or becomes little uh, difficult for us to understand. Today we will start with the first aspect, which is simply integration uh, of our shadow as well as the light. So we've understood that there are parts of us or aspects of us which we like to keep hidden because of certain experiences that we go through, right? So yeah. So why do we hide those? Because we do not, as a human tendency, we do not want to experience pain, and pain is something uh, which at any cost we just want to avoid, and hence we hide certain aspect of our own self. And even though we hide it, it's actually very much present in our psyche. So to say, if I had an experience and which made me feel small, or which made me feel, that I'm not good enough, even if I will pretend not to have that experience and not to go to that side of my own self, that aspect will always remain as an understatement, and will always be, my all my experience, further experiences will be based on that thing, that I'm not good enough, I would not be able to achieve this particular thing. Or maybe, whether it's a relationship, whether it's like some like, anything in your career, or whichever aspect of your life, whichever failure, wherever you've seen, you will not be able to, you will be always have that uh, uh, thing, that you'll beat yourself up, and you will always feel little less in that particular area. In reality, it was just one of the experiences which just happened. Maybe it was twice you had the same experience, maybe you had the experience 5 times, but even if you had that experience, it's not something which has, which was everything. It was just part of your experiences, right? uh, and you made a whole story of you being imperfect, you being not enough, because of those experiences. Now, and then we keep, reciting that experience in our psyche, and those stories keep, we keep having those stories, and then they become, because whatever we are thinking becomes kind of, solidifies and becomes our present and future also. So hence we keep attracting the same experiences. So instead of doing that, what do we need to do? uh, let me give you another example. So we all experience this one thing, that when we have to take some decision, or when we want to do something, say I want to write a book. So I'll have these two voices in my head. One which will be giving me all the possible benefits of me writing a book, that I will always, I have thousand of things, that maybe my experiences are such that I can write a book. I have these skill sets that I can write a book. Whereas there will be another voice which is coming from some past, that is telling me that, how do you even how can you even think of it, you know? There's so many people writing book. Why will your book will be of any use or any different than anybody else's? So these two voices, which are like polar opposite, we all experience these kind of voices, right? And this happens because we are not, our internal is not solidified, it is not integrated. We have these very distinct voices. So what integration means is that when you actually combine these two, we can also understand it with through this, that we often speak about heart or mind, and we always treat them as two different aspects, that the heart is, it'll go somewhere else, whereas the mind will go somewhere else. But in reality, uh, if we are able to work with these two together, we will have the perfect solutions that are available to us, because neither we will be coming from the thoughts nor will be coming from the emotions. We'll have a solution which is like integrated, and that is what integration here means. Integration of the light side of you and the dark sides of you. Now, if we want to integrate these things, before this, one more thing. So each time we have experienced something bad in our life, say related to whatever, related to your profession, related to your relationships, each experience has, we fragment our own self, and these bad experiences keep fragmenting the self into multiple pieces, multiple parts, and hence we have these conflicts, because when we have so many version of ourselves living in this one body, we will have conflicts. uh, so remember, we were already born, we had come from that source which was complete. So if we have come from that source which is already complete, we are supposed to be complete, right? That is why every culture tradition has been talking about that we are complete, we are born. uh, but because of these fragmentations, we have kind of shifted from that purna to, we're so lost because of that. And that is why we all have these very strong notions of, black and white, right and wrong, because we do not see things as they are. We see things from our experiences, and hence we all experience it very differently, even when the thing is one only, right? If we have different perception of looking at that thing, that means there is something which is not aligned. We all are not aligned to each other. So forget each other, we're not aligned with our own self. The parts of us which is taking me to this direction, and the other part is taking me to that direction, and we have multiple parts like this, right? So what do we do? How do we integrate? So how do we integrate is to, the first step is to acknowledge that yes, there are these two parts to me, maybe three parts to me, and seeing these two different parts which are absolute opposite in nature. In it, basically I would say that you have to have a genuine intimacy with your own self. Until unless you have true intimacy with self, you cannot have intimacy with anybody else. And what this genuine intimacy means is that you have to see yourself as it is, you know without filters. You have to feel what these two different aspects are. You have to listen to these two aspects of yourself, and then you have to very very powerfully and very like with this, you have to understand that these two aspects are trying to tell you something. Where these two aspects are coming from, what is the authenticity of these two aspects. And once you do this, you will be able to integrate these two aspects, and you'll be able to come up with a solution which is which is true, which is not coming from uh, these conflicts. And this is what integration means. And to do this, you have to not only see the light aspect of your own self, you have to understand that, every positive that we have, you will have a negative of it too present in you. So to say, I'll give you another example. So you have these archetypes which I keep talking about, and archetypes are basically energy types, right? So say if I have uh, energy of God, God is one of the archetype. So if somebody is having God's archetype in their life, like they have this capacity, right, this energy type which they're holding right now. So at one point, that person will be having this aspect where he is ready to help anybody who comes to him, right? That person has a capacity to convince somebody that, uh, all the good parts about God. How do we see God? God is something which is higher than us. God is something which has all the solutions for us. But at the same time, God also has the shadow aspect, which is that God has full power of destruction, right? It would take just a seconds, or like a millisecond, to destroy you, right? And that's the kind of shadow which you are hiding, because you know that because of certain belief structures that this is right and this is wrong, and we have made these very strong positives and negatives about something, when in real these both are just qualities, right? So if God archetype has given you a tendency of destruction, it can also mean that that destruction could be used for removing addiction, right? But how do you use those energies, what is very important. But right at the start, if you say that this is the shadow aspect of God's archetype, that destruction, it can destroy you, you've already given it a definition of negative. Whereas it also holds, that shadow side also holds a positive uh, uh, positive side to it, which is that it can destroy all that is not good for you, right? And this is what shadow work is, because of our belief structure. uh, Whatever definitions we have given to something, those definitions are just definition, they're not real. And because we have given them definition, we start seeing them as shadow aspect, whereas in reality the shadow aspect also holds the positive. And when you start understanding these two different aspects in totality, you then can integrate the two, and then you can have a perfect solution that is there for you. This is what integration in psychology means. We will talk about integration of soul, which is a higher understanding of what happens to soul when it goes through different lives and different births. And this fragmentation which we're talking in terms of one birth, what happens when we have those fragments of soul in so many births. Hope this was good enough for somebody, and thank you so much for listening to me. Have a lovely day.